The information provided on Dr. Tom Roselle Live by Dr. Tom Roselle, D.C., interview guests, show co-hosts, or substitute hosts is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It is for general information purposes only. Information from this broadcast should not replace the appropriate consultation and examination process by a licensed physician. Always consult your own physician prior to changing any current medical directive or prescription.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live, right now, on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, live in studio, waiting to take your calls on anything that's bugging you about your health, except no drugs, no surgery here. We're going to do it the natural way. Give me a call, 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Love to talk to you on anything that you have on your mind. It's wet outside. It's cold. You know, it's not really cold. It's just that wet, you know, in your bones type of thing. So, you know, be careful. And it's the holiday season. Everybody's kind of last-minute shopping, going crazy out there from pillar to post. Look both ways and then look again. And make sure, you know, those cell phones, those texts and so forth, put it down. Put it down. You're not going to have any time to react. And I don't want to hear about you having a problem or ending up in a hospital or something worse than that. 888-630-9625. We're here again on Saturday. One more time on Saturday. Then we go back to our normal time, Sunday at 12 noon. Why? Because the Redskins season is done next week. But until that happens, we're still here with you on Saturday afternoon. I want to tell you that we have something very special to discuss with you. I want to reveal some things to you you may not have thought about, and also to take the veil off some lies, if you will, that have been perpetuated in the medical community for a long time. They're very hazardous lies. These things can cause much more problems than they potentially like to position themselves to solve. And what are we talking about? We're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about mammograms, and we're going to talk about the flu shot. And some interesting information just came out on that within the last week or so, and I think that you have a right to know. Then we're going to talk about, you know, the FTC and their position on homeopathics, these very minute elements that do major good for your body. And, you know, it's like when it takes the money out of somebody's pocket, somebody's going to find a way to get rid of it, particularly, you know, when you're driven by profits instead of helping people. My opinion, by the way. But there's a lot of substantiation to put that over the top. So let's get started. We have so much to talk about, and your questions as well, but give me a call and we'll talk about those things as we go through. The first thing we're going to talk about are mammograms. You know, ladies, you go out and you get your breasts squeezed and you get them crushed and then irradiated, and, you know, the doc comes out and says, well, you know, we have a further problem, and then you're sent out for an MRI or an ultrasound, and then they say, well, we have this thing that we have to do a biopsy, and the biopsy comes back negative. And meanwhile, you've gone through this hurtful process, and supposedly it's going to save your life. Supposedly it's going to give you a different look on, you know, things, and a leg up into preventive health, you know, preventing cancer that can kill you and consume you and so forth. Well, I just wanted to give you some data. I'm going to let you make that decision. But here's the story, you know, in a nutshell, right? There's a significant number of very, very problematic drawbacks when it comes to mammograms. And recent research out there really puts the light in the right place. It demonstrates without doubt that this test, these mammographic tests, do not reduce the risk of death from the disease called cancer. Just doesn't, okay? And I'm going to tell you why within a few minutes. We're going to get into that. Mammograms supposedly are used to detect breast cancer, but what they do is they employ ionizing radiation that comes with it a risk of developing cancer. That's what I said. It comes with it the risk of developing the thing that they're trying to find out about. It's called cancer. So they came up with this new 3D mammography. It's also called breast tomosynthesis. You like that name? Tomosynthesis. I think they did when they, you know, put the tag on it. And uses more radiation to achieve even sharper images. So they're telling you that it's not as bad, but here's the deal. It uses more radiation. So here's what's going on. The data shows that after 10 mammograms, 10, that's 10. Ladies, how many of you had? Okay, this is 10. After 10 mammograms, you have a 50 to 60% risk of receiving a false positive result. 50 to 60% risk of getting, oh yeah, you got cancer from the mammogram. Now, potentially, this necessitates further testing, right? And even more radiation and follow-up radiation and then cutting and jabbing and poking, and you come up with the same thing. Guess what? Didn't happen. So you might be able to prevent 75 to 90% of breast cancers through just lifestyle changes. 75 to 90% just by changing a few things that you're doing in your life. And one of them is reducing the exposure to hazardous radiation, and then toxins that you put in your body, and then actually put in organic foods, and then severely reducing something called sugar. You know, unfortunately, we're in this 'tis the season. And by the way, there's a little piece about sugar and fructose, that 1 teaspoon of sugar decreases the white blood cell activity, its ability to fight, by 12% for 8 hours. So it's still there. If you do a normal slide and say, oh, yeah, there's a number of white blood cells, but guess what? They're comatose. They're out, they're asleep. They can't help you. They're just sitting around hanging out. So we got to limit that stuff going in our bodies. Cancer loves sugar. So, but let's get back to this, these mammographies, these radiation, these crushing of the breast tissue. There's a significant number of drawbacks, to having these ongoing mammograms. Your doctor may say that having a mammogram may reduce your risk of dying by 20%. That's the number that they use, 20%. You'd be surprised by how that percentage is calculated. I want to calculate it for you. I want you to understand what it really means. So these things are explained by really top-shelf people. There's a guy by the name of Andrew Lazaris and environmental scientist Erica Rifkin. She's a PhD. She says for every 1,000 women who do not get a mammogram, 5 will die from breast cancer. So every 1,000 women, 5 will die from breast cancer. For every 1,000 women who do get regular mammograms, guess how many die? 4. You're saving 1. 4 will die who do get regular mammograms. The difference between those two groups is 20%, or the one person whose life is saved by getting a mammogram. That's how they calculate the data. 1 in 1,000 people to expose other people, saving 5 but killing 4. I think there's a problem here somewhere. A new study came out of the Netherlands and demonstrates that no matter how this number is calculated, it's not accurate. And that's straight up science, and we have the references on that. Here's what's worse. What's worse is the reverse side of the equation is that more women are actually harmed by the procedure, by doing it, by crushing the breast, by radiating the breast with this ionizing radiation, and undergoing unnecessary treatment as a result of false positives. So this is a real concern. This is a real situation. So again, I want you to ask the question in your head quietly, or maybe out loud, as I'm going through this study right now, and ask the question, who gets to gain by this? Meaning, first, who wrote the article? We have the articles, many of them. And then who gains by it? And by the way, who in the background stroked the check to make it happen? So mammograms, my opinion, are not life-saving, and in the opinion of many scientists, are not life-saving at all. The study out of the Netherlands analyzed fewer women are dying from breast cancer, after aggressive screening program was instituted in 1989, including regular mammograms. So there's something here, and I'm telling you one thing and there's something else. So let's get through this thing and figure out what really is true and what isn't. Screening programs make the assumption that early detection of cancer is easier to treat and will result in much better outcomes. That's the whole reason that they do this stuff, is because they're telling you that things get better because of that. They can handle it, and maybe they have to take the tumor, maybe they get to radiate you, maybe they do chemotherapeutics, maybe they amputate your breast, maybe they do all those things. But participants in the Dutch study, these women were screened every other year it goes back to, started in 1989 and it went all the way through 2012. So that's a pretty decent study. And nearly 8 million women, were included in this analysis. So the research that was led by this doctor, his name is Philippe Attier from the University of Strathclyde Institute of Public Health. The intention of this whole thing was to determine if regular screening and mammography would affect the number of advanced cases of breast cancer detected and the number of deaths from the disease. So that's the outcome, right? We want to save lives. So here's how it unfolded. So a previous study where the researchers used some of the same data, what they found a decrease in the incidence of some advanced breast cancers, and what they concluded, what they came about, is that the use of widespread mammography had been effective in reducing the deaths, right? If they could improve early treatment procedures. Here's the but. The researchers explained the analysis of the data. They failed to find the same reduction. So during the period of the study, there would have been no significant decrease in the extent of diagnosis of stage 2 up to stage 4, which is metastatic breast disease. It goes through the whole body. So the reduction of number of women dying from breast cancer was attributed to a combination of a whole lot of different things. One was environment, lifestyle, and guess what? Genetic factors. So these factors may have resulted in a 5% reduction between 1995 and 2012. So the number of stage 0 and stage 1 cancers diagnosed increased sharply. The number of later cancers remained the same. They didn't do anything to fix that late-stage cancer situation at all. They found earlier cancer. So the question becomes, because of the way that they did this, did they find them early on because now they were causing some of these things? This is just me thinking out loud. Not for anything, it's just me thinking out loud. The research analyzed a whole lot of data. And what impacted the reduction of the deaths from the cancer? If it wasn't aggressive screening, then what was it? Researchers found that 85% of the observed decrease in deaths were related simply to improvements in treatment and not the result of mammograms identifying the lesions. Environmental changes, changing things about your health, and guess what happens? It's called epigenetics. The body will shift and change. The body doesn't need any help. It just doesn't need any irritation. And if you start putting it back into a normal situation, you're in a great place. It makes it much better. So, you have all these mammograms that are going on, and, they try to analyze it based on women who have BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations, which are genetic predispositions. But the data suggests that you have a 50 to 60% chance of getting a false positive after you've done 10 yearly mammograms, or 10 mammograms total. So unfortunately, these results, may lead to all kinds of things, like more mammograms and biopsies and treatments and, things that you really don't need to get done according to the conclusions of these studies. And mammograms are not preventive medicine. Okay, Altier, the scientist we talked about earlier, this guy found that mammograms overdiagnosed 59% of stage 1 cancers. That's stage 1. They missed the mark. And 33% of cancers in the beginning stages. So this is going to draw to a conclusion. There's something that I want to talk to you about as we get through here. And what's that? There's a bigger and much more effective and much more specific way of dealing with diagnosis. And it's called thermographic imaging. And we're sitting here with tons of studies in front of us that said thermographic imaging has a 10% false positive, false negative rate. 10%. I don't know about you. That's not bad. That's not bad. We're going to talk about some of the steps that you can take to help yourself, some of the things that you need to avoid, and also touch a little bit more on mammography, on thermography when we get back. But this is really important, and then we're going to get into the flu vaccine, and we're going to tell you the effectiveness of that today, and we're going to talk a little bit about homeopathic preparations and the FTC hearings that are going on right now, and the conclusions, the erroneous conclusions, I might add, that they're making. So don't go away. I have a lot for you. Give me a call, 888-630-9625. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Tom Roselle here. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We're in studio, 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. Love to talk to you. We've got a couple of things that we're kind of exposing you to today. What's that? Well, first topic is we've been talking about mammography and why you can get up to a 50 to 60% bad impression after 10 studies, so think about how many you've had over a period of time, and, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a false positive that says that you got a problem and you don't, and then subsequently you're going to be exposed to all kinds of other things, and then tumors occur on the side because of that increased radiation, and here it goes. And I want you to look this up. Go to the web and start looking. There's a really great website. It's called Mercola.com, and Joe Mercola is an osteopath. He has 26 writers that really get into the midst of this and do some really great research. I'd encourage you to check it out. He's an amazing guy. But if you really want to know the data, that's where you go. So it doesn't work, but, we're going to take your calls, 888-630-9625. And we had one that wanted to ask a question about concussion. If you're still out there, call us back. I think we dropped you off, and I apologize. I'm sorry, but we'll get you back on the line. Let's give it a try. Are you there?
Yeah. I fell at work. I slipped, and I hit my head very hard on concrete.
Oh,
and
that's
ever
not
since
fun.
I had a concussion, that's like 5 months ago.
Okay.
And I couldn't find a neurologist, so I had to go a sports medicine specialist. And ever since I have been with them, and they have been treating with these SSRIs like Klonopin and amitriptyline, anti-anxiety medication, and I'm not progressing.
So it's the wrong approach. There's things that have to be done. If you've suffered any kind of concussion, we treat a lot of professional athletes. We treat people from the NFL, and as you know, the rate of concussion in contact sports is huge. So there's several things that have to be done. You're way after the fact at this point, so you're going to get, and I'm going to use the term, which is not a medical term, you're going to get your brain scrambled, and you're not going to be able to process information. But one of the things that you want to do at this point is get the brain to heal. And there's several ways of doing that. First is that you want to make sure that you're extremely hydrated and drink a tremendous amount of water. I would take your body weight, whatever that is, divide your body weight in half, and whatever that number is the number of ounces that you must drink every day to get things there. You have to eat a lot of things that are very high in antioxidants, very rich in antioxidants. Green leafy vegetables are the best. Colorful vegetables are the best. And, they have high levels of things like B12 and folic acid. Nutrient bases that we would use with our patients that have concussive problems and that we do with contact athletes is that we put them on very high levels of omega fatty acids. And there are many different forms, and you want to make sure that you have a very clean, organic form. There are some patients that we take well above 5, 6, 7, 8,000 milligrams a day. But again, we do that on an individual basis. If you're taking any kind of blood thinner, you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that you're dealing with somebody who knows what they're doing. B12 and folate are used at a ratio of 5 parts folate to 2 parts B12. The best form of B12 is going to be the methyl form in this situation. It's because there's a methylation problem that occurs. The other thing that you want to do is begin to retrain the brain. You have to do things that will allow the brain to reorganize and resynchronize. Brain mapping is one of those things that can be done and can be done quite effectively. There's a lot of people around that can help and guide you, but you have to do those things if you want to recover and if you want to get your brain to work as supposed to. There's an herb that we use with patients who have had significant problems with trauma, and I would be checked for this and get to see somebody in a nutritional realm that really understands this. Chinese skullcap. It's been used very effectively to cure concussions in Asia, and now in the United States, there's many of us that are using it. In its best form in tincture, liquid form, St. John's wort as well. And anything increases circulation in the brain. It will also help, but you don't want to use things that are too hot or too cold. Turmeric, also an anti-inflammatory, works very nicely. It's a spice that's used in a lot of Indian cuisines, but turmeric is a very strong anti-inflammatory and helps heal concussions across the board. So that's where I would begin to start. Now, if in the acute phase, there's other things of doing it that are very applicable, but go there. Blueberries, blackberries, the darker berries are also high in antioxidants. Give those a try. I think that you'll find that they will help you, particularly the high levels of the omega fatty acids, the B12, the folate. Get to somebody who can also check out the skull and making sure that the skull bones, the 22 bones that make up your skull, aren't locked, so the spinal fluid is moving the way it's supposed to. Our office can help you with that. You can always give us a call. We're happy to guide you through that. But, you've suffered a very significant problem, and one that really needs to be addressed by somebody who knows what they're doing, and not the things that you have been taking up until now. They don't work. We're coming up to a break. We've got a lot of information to share with you. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Tom Roselle here. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I'm in the studio. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. Those of you who are out shopping and doing the last minute running around and the ho-ho-hos, and, make sure that you be careful of all those holiday parties. And, watch what you're consuming. Be very careful, because I promise you, in another week from now, we go into the first of the year, you're going to feel miserable. You're not going to feel real good. You're going to wonder, how did I do this to myself? Well, you've been doing it since probably Halloween, and, with all the stuff that you've been putting in your system. But, guess what? You're spurring the process. You're making things untenable for that body of yours. So be careful. Be moderate. Moderation is a good thing. Your body will appreciate you and you'll love you more. Nevertheless, I hope you have an amazing, amazing Christmas and holiday season. It's a fantastic time of the year. My favorite time of the year. I love being with people. We have a huge gathering coming up Christmas Eve at my house. Probably about 27, 28 people, which is down from a few because we're missing a couple that are out of the area this year. But it's a traditional Sicilian festival, if you will, with all kinds of good things. And we're looking forward to having everybody with us. Let's get back to some of the things that we need to talk to you about, and want to let you walk through our website at rosellecare.com. That's ROSELLECARE. And we have a very special Christmas and holiday gift for you. If you go down probably about 2/3 through the page, there's a very lovely, lovely gift of health, and it's good for you through January 31st. And normally coming in to see one of my doctors at the Roselle Center and getting a full neuromuscular examination and applied kinesiological consultation examination, full health screening and acupuncture graph and gait scan analysis, and then the doc sits down with you and does a complete report of findings. It costs you over $440. We're giving you this as a reduced fee gift of $125 if you make that phone call, and you have to mention the gift of health. And you can give it to yourself, you can give it to somebody in your family. Get it done today. Go to rosellecare.com. That's ROSELLECARE, rosellecare.com, and make it happen. Start the new year the right way. Make your health a priority in 2018. It is an important investment in the way your body will unfold over time. Let's go to the phones. Alexandra, how can I help you? Oh, no, you're from Alexandria. It's Tim. Tim, see, they got it wrong on my screen. I didn't think that a woman could have a PSA problem. Tim, how can I help you, buddy?
Yes. I wanted to find out, I don't know how this correlates with your presentation today. I just tuned in, but I had this question last week when I was listening, and I didn't get a chance to call in quickly. But I went to the physician, and the PSA was 2, and then it went to 6, and then we repeated it, and it doubled from that to 13. And now they want me to
do a biopsy.
Well, now they want me to go back and try it one more time, because sometimes there's things that could have impacted that. But I recently had changed my diet and, haven't done any, that type of thing. So I want to get your perspective.
Sure, let's talk about it. First of all, for our listeners, PSA is prostate-specific antigen. It's the measure of the prostatic antigen, but what it measures, Tim, is the high inflammation that surrounds the prostate, and by itself it means nothing. So what you have to know is that it's jumping. When it jumps fast like that, it can be a red flag. It can say, hey, we got a problem here. But the only way that you know, and what you want to run with it is a free PSA. That's a total PSA. So you're doing a total PSA. The free PSA is the one that really begins to indicate problems. You want to see, in a perfect world, you want to see a total PSA, what they ran on you, very low, and you want to see a free PSA very high. And when the total PSA starts rising, but if the free PSA stays high, there's no problem. It tells you that there's an inflammatory irritation of the prostate due to something, and that something can be an infection, that something can be something toxic that you've consumed in your body. There's many different pieces of the puzzle. So just as the thyroid, just as the pancreas, the prostate as well can develop an inflammatory barrier that doesn't allow it to work for many different reasons. So before anybody gets crazy on this thing, what you have to do is, one, change your diet, which you did exactly the right thing. You want to make sure you get rid of any kind of sugar in your diet and alcohol. Drop the alcohol and even things like coffee, simply because coffee can irritate prostate, and many different people can actually cause guys to have prostatitis where it's actually painful. So I would do that. Switch to green tea, lots of organic green tea, which will help your prostate significantly. And then this time when they do the lab test for the total PSA, have them also run a free PSA with it. Now, if the free PSA drops and the total PSA is going up, then that's cause for concern, and there's certain things that you need to move forward with. But there's a lot of things that can be done. Tim, how old are you?
59.
Okay. So, you're within that target range where a lot of guys see that, and by the way, I did one of my first research papers I did for my senior thesis when I was in professional school, and it was zinc and the prostate gland. And what I found and what the evidence showed even in those days, many moons ago, as my son said, when the dinosaurs ruled the earth, and back in the day, 50% of the dry weight of the prostate gland is zinc. And a lot of the research came out of the United Nations over in the Middle East and Egypt and so forth, and they had huge numbers of studies. And what they found is that when guys ended up with these benign hypertrophic prostates, these enlargement of the prostate glands, they put them on zinc, and specifically zinc sulfate at pretty good levels, and they began to notice that the prostate gland would begin to turn around and become healthier. Now, in our culture here in Western society, there's a lot of other contributing factors, but that's just one of them. I only bring that up as an information anecdote. But the thing that I would do in your situation is please change your diet, have them do the free PSA with the total PSA, and then whatever that says tells you what to do next. And all you need to do is reach out to me. Go to rosellecare.com and send me a note. Let me know what those levels are, and I will guide you and tell you what I would do if I was in your situation. Does that help you?
Yes, very much. They said that if it was kept doubling back up, then they would do a biopsy, but they were trying to save me a biopsy because sometimes these things are random, like infection, like you're saying.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But have them run the free PSA. The free PSA is the bellwether. It's the one that's going to tell you if that rise in PSA means anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll have to look back and see if they ran that before.
Yeah, if they did, send it to me. Send me the results, and I'll get back to you and I'll tell you what it really means.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Tim, and thanks for calling.
I'm an active listener. I listen every week.
I appreciate it. Thanks so very much. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. Let's talk a little bit about what they're pushing. They're always pushing something out there to get you to buy. And the thing that they get you to buy starting along about August, September is the flu shot. They try to get you to go down. This is huge money, by the way. We're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars to the drug companies, and, they love every minute of it. Remember I said about a week ago or two, I forget now, that, a couple of years in a row that the flu vaccine didn't work? Well, guess what? They just came out and said again that the flu vaccine for 2017 is likely worthless. It ain't worth a piddly of nothing. And this came out of Australia, and the predominant circulating flu virus this year is something called influenza A, or H3N2, against which the flu vaccine had a preliminary effectiveness of just 10%. 10%. That doesn't mean that it gave you enough antibody to protect you. It just means that it stimulated an antibody reaction. So the composition of the 2017-2018 United States flu vaccine is identical. It's the same as, there's no difference than the one in Australia, which means it's only likely to be a maximum of 10%. So there's many factors that contribute to this, by the way. And, the vaccine's failure rate is due to viruses that are mismatched and, things that they use to produce them, that namely eggs that people are like super sensitive to and break things down. The most selected viruses are grown in eggs, and where these vaccine strains mutate like crazy. They just become something other than what they started with, and subsequently there's no effect. They become worthless. Flu season in Australia, located, south of the border, so to speak, southern hemisphere, occurs while, those of us up here in the northern hemisphere are still enjoying summer. So they make the vaccines based on what they're finding in Australia and in that part of the world in the southern hemispheres. So what happens in Australia is always a great bellwether for what's going on here in the USA when it comes snow time, this time of the year. And if it holds true for 2017-18, the influenza vaccine experts say that we could be in for another whopping doozy year of the flu. And there's so much more that you can do. So check out the articles in New England Journal of Medicine. By the way, it's online. You can get it. You don't have to be a doc, and it's really easy to understand most of the stuff. Go to the conclusions and see what they say. But, with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, it's called NIAID, NIAID, the World Health Organization, and in Australia, record high numbers of people coming down with the flu. And these outbreaks are going over the top. Now, the problem is why is that happening? Is it just that, we need more inoculations that work? Well, no. You just have to have a better immune system that protects you. So what's a person to do to protect themselves? I don't get the flu. I never have had a full-blown case of knock me down and keep me in bed for 2 weeks flu. And in full disclosure, I've only had one flu vaccine. That was when I was 18 years old and starting college and didn't know what I know today. But today, for you to get me to take a flu vaccine, you're going to have to hog tie me, gag me, and then inject me when I'm not looking, because it ain't going to happen, my friends. No way, no how, because I know what's in that stuff, and it's not going in my body, particularly the fact that it's not working. So, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, says that most people who get the flu recover in a few days, to less than 2 weeks, and that's without doing things that are proactive. There are some that develop pneumonia, and there are some that have life-threatening problems and result in death, but they could get a cold and end up dead too, because they are of that predilection, that predisposition, that anything that affects the respiratory pattern of the body may cause them a problem. So it's important to remember that, there's a lot of things that get lost in the promotional advertising of the annual flu shots, and that most time when you get sick, with a respiratory infection during the flu season, you don't have the flu. You don't have it. It's not the flu. You have other stuff, and you can get all these other, I don't feel good from a lot of things, and you can get a little fever, you can get fatigue, your body aches, your nose runs, things like that. It's called no sunlight and too much crap in your body. It's called sugar and all the garbage that you're eating on a regular basis this time of the year. So if that's true, and we're being exposed to hot and cold, right? We're going inside, outside. We're drinking things, at levels that we normally wouldn't do, and eating things that are totally going to destroy us. Why do we blame it on this stupid flu bug that's around all the time anyway? People fly to Australia when there's winter over there and we're summer over here, and they're bringing the bug back and forth anyway. Why don't you get in the summertime? Do you ever think about that? If what I just said was true, that they're having their winter when we're having our summer, and they got the flu ramping up over there, but we're in the summertime and we're not in a bad place, why don't we get it in the summertime? Why is it that we have to wait to the wintertime? It's because you start doing things to your body and you don't get any vitamin D whatsoever, and your body is just beat up, run down. There's no sunlight. There's no stimulation, immunological reactions. Nothing. So here's what's happening. Noncompliance is becoming a crime. Should you go to jail or lose your job because you decide to opt out of the flu vaccine? My humble opinion is I think that's a crock. And because there's a lot of stuff that's going into, making this happen. Again, who wrote the articles, who's got what to gain by it, and who stroked the check. I tell you, you got to look around, right? It was just a vaccine some years ago that was called the smallpox vaccine. But, now the U.S. childhood vaccine schedule calls for 50 doses of 14 different vaccines before the age of 6. Did you hear that? 50 doses of 4 different types of vaccines. Years ago, it was just one. It's called the smallpox vaccine. And people are getting beat up. Your immunological system is getting kicked in the pants. Nothing is working the way it's supposed to. And the government claims it does not impose vaccine mandates for adults, except for those of us who have been into the military, and now you got to deal with that. Think about it, friends. Just think about it. Why don't you get the flu in the summertime when Australia's got the flu? It's only those things that we do to ourselves, and the lack of sunshine and the hot and cold reactions and all those things and the respiratory problems that come about that make us more predisposed. But as I said, it's not the flu that gives you these things in every situation. In most cases, it is not. Think hard. Think hard before you say yes to anything. You need to be your own advocate. Health is a do-it-yourself program. We're coming up to a break. Don't go away. This is Dr. Tom Roselle.
105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We broadcast today at 4 o'clock on Saturday, next Saturday at 4 o'clock. And then we're back to our regular home field on Sundays at 12 noon. And don't forget to join us. If you'd like to find out what our schedule is, go to rosellcare.com. That's ROSELLECARE.com, rosellcare.com. And find out what we're going to do. Lots of stuff coming up in 218 at the Roselle Center for Healing, and we want to invite you. So there's a lot of information there. There'll be much more. If you want to re-listen to this program, you can do that kind of midweek at that website. You could also go to roselleradio.com, and there'll be lists of several hundred of our programs and things that we've done for your listening enjoyment. Pick the ones out that you like, listen to them. If you have any questions, get a hold of us. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. We're talking about the flu and the ineffectiveness this year of the flu vaccine. I want to give you 9 steps before we end the program, 9 steps to be able to, deal with the flu better than doing anything else that anybody has told you. So how do you protect yourself against the flu without going out and getting the vaccination, which is less than 10% effective this year, and the last 2 years worthless? So what happens, and how do you make that take place? Well, the first thing that I want you to do is optimize your vitamin D level. If your vitamin D levels are low, and by the way, anything under 50 on the laboratory test is called insufficient. 32 or less is highly deficient. It's probably the most single important and least expensive thing that you can do to avoid getting the flu. Vitamin D is more effective than most everything else. You take that with a little vitamin C, a little zinc, a little echinacea, and guess what? You're going to get through the season pretty well. The other thing you need to do, and I was chiding you early on, is get your fingers out of the sugar bowl. Stop the processed foods. Sugar impairs the function of your immune system almost immediately. It doesn't do you any good. And you put that 1 teaspoon or the equivalent of sugar in your body, and it decreases the capacity of your immunological system to work. So other bugs, viruses, and other things can get into your system and start wreaking havoc. Sleep. You got to sleep. Go to bed and turn the tube off. Many of you fall asleep in front of the television. Turn that stupid tube off. You're stimulating too many things that need to be shut off that time of night, and get it down. You need to relax. You need to get rid of that stress. Address the stress. Do something that vents your stress. Stop the stinking thinking. Quit looking for all the negative stuff. Start looking for things that are positive. Start looking for the important things. Give thanks on a daily basis for the things that you do well. Get a journal. Make it your gratitude journal and write down 3 things, 4 things, 2 things. 1 thing that was really great for you that one day, and write it down and imbue it and look at it and just, say, hey, that was cool. Exercise. You need to exercise. Everybody needs to exercise. I don't care if you're in a wheelchair. You can exercise. You can move your arms. You can move your legs. You can contract things. You can breathe in deeply. Stimulate your body. Get out and walk if you can, a couple miles every day. Didn't say how fast. Just say go walk, Park your car at the back of the parking lot and walk up to the top of the steps. Start consuming animal-based omega-3 fatty acids. You got to get those fatty acids in. Otherwise, you're going to kill your brain and you're going to kill a lot of other things. No fatty acids, no omega-3s, you're on fire. Your body's going to burn up. Brain's not going to work the way it's supposed to, and your immunological system is not going to fire. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Don't worry about all these antibacterial soaps that are causing cancers, by the way, and then begin to mutate other bacteria. Wash your hands. Soap and hot water. If nothing else, just hot water. Get rid of those viruses. When you scratch your nose and, so forth, wash your hands. Get rid of that stuff. Use natural immune boosters. We've talked a little bit about it. Oregano and garlic. Yep, I'm certainly a Sicilian boy here. I like that stuff. But guess what? It really helps. It makes life much better. Fresh garlic. Put it on top of stuff. Avoid going to the hospital. Do not go to the hospital if you absolutely can avoid it. It's one of the worst places a sick person can go. We're coming up to the end of that program, the one that I'd like to go for about 3 hours and give you as much data as I can. Just want you to know that I love you all and have a very joyous, wonderful, blessed Christmas holiday. I'll see you next week, our last time on Saturday, and back over to Sunday. See you then. This is Dr. Tom Roselle.
Breast cancer is a major health risk to all women. It can silently grow uninterrupted for years. The Thermography Centers of Fairfax reminds all women to conduct monthly and annual breast exams. Consider a thermography scan from the Thermography Centers as an adjunct to your routine breast exams. Digital infrared thermal imaging is safe and non-invasive. For more information and to schedule an appointment, call 703-520-7591 or visit thermographycenters.com.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle, author of Ageless Health. Health is a do-it-yourself program. My book, now also available in audio version, is a step-by-step program of how to take control of your health and wellness without drugs or needless surgery. You have the capacity to change your health and level of well-being. Take control of your health today and order Health is a do-it-yourself program.
For more information and to order, please visit agelesshealthbook.com. That's agelesshealthbook.com.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 38 years of practice and almost 1 million patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com.
Are you dental phobic? Do you neglect your dental health because of fear and anxiety? A beautiful smile begins with exceptional dental care, and you can trust in the expertise of Soft Touch Dental Care and Dr. Michael Chung. Soft Touch Dental Care is unlike any dentist office you'll ever experience. Their warm and welcoming environment is designed to soothe fears and anxiety the moment you arrive, and they're especially pleased to pamper their honored guest patients. Dr. Michael Chung is a professional and leading expert in all areas of comprehensive dentistry, including cosmetic, sedation, neuromuscular, TMJ, and implant dentistry. Offering state-of-the-art technology, Dr. Chung can give you the smile of your dreams. Arrange for a complimentary consultation today with Dr. Michael Chung and experience the expertise that makes Dr. Michael Chung so unique. Call 703-319-6990. That's 703-319-6990. Or visit bestinsmile.com. That's bestinsmile.com.